So the three topics that we're going to cover today are going to be greenside bunkers, which I think are very important. I always tell people commit to 5 to 10 minutes being in a greenside bunker. If your facility has an area, commit to putting some practice time. Then we're going to cover kind of a 35, 40-yard, link-specific style bump and run golf shot on some uneven lies, and then finish up with some long putting tips. And I think those three areas are very, very important on how we can play better golf, right? We can always hit the ball longer, we can always hit the ball straighter, but think of an 18-hole round of golf. It's just a bunch of mini games that lead up to the final score. So how do we, as non-professional golfers, give ourselves a higher percentage chance of possibly making a one putt or having a very high percentage of two putting, right? And it's a much straighter putt to that hole location. Nothing's more frustrating than hitting a good golf shot and being on the green and walking away with a three putt, right? So helping simplify that, raising our percentages of walking away with a much lower score, all right? To me, I like to really think about two things to help simplify it. Number one is always keeping my chest in line with the golf ball, right? The reason I say it, this is our center of gravity. This is what the club is moving around, right? So this is going to help me control the lowest point of the club head, right? Keeping my chest in line with the golf ball. If I'm getting too far in front, well, that's doing that. Now my hands get in front, I'm hitting down on the golf ball, or if I try to lift the golf ball, bringing my chest back, now that club is making contact with the sand much earlier. So how do we create a little bit of consistency, keeping our chest in line with the golf ball? Now I'm almost imagining just drawing a U shape around my body with the club head. All right, club comes up, club's gonna eventually come down. There's the bottom of the U, right? There's the relationship with the golf ball. Then number two is always thinking about my hands going up to my left ear. That's just a really good mental thing for me because we can accelerate through the golf ball. Out here, the sand is very, very soft, very beach-like. The only difference between what's in this bunker and on the other side of the golf course is this just gets raked every day, right? So a lot of times when players come out here, we feel the firmness of the sand. We feel how soft it is. We think about gripping the club harder and swinging harder because we're mentally thinking about already taking a lot of sand. Right? So I can accelerate through the golf ball and stop right there, but now I'm creating a lot of inconsistencies where the club head reaches its lowest point. I've seen players swing very, very hard in the bunkers and the ball travels just a few feet. So how do we create some consistency? And as long as I hands up to the left ear, I'm continuing through the golf swing. I'm accelerating through the golf ball. Trying to think about those two things. The last thing, someone said we open up our club face. That's just something natural that we do. And as players, when we open up the club face, we line the ball up on the center of the club face. That's what we normally do with every single golf shot. Now, if I start to open that club face, look closely at what happens to the hosel of the club. All right, now it starts to move closer to the ball. Now, if we have the old school traditional way of swinging outside to in, that's bringing the hosel of the club across the golf ball, making it a possible chance to make contact with it. And we've seen a bunker shot just kind of clank and shoot out to the right. So for me, when I open up my club face, I like to line it up on the outer third. One, this has already given me a little bit of confidence of keeping that hosel away from the golf ball. And then also the way the golf clubs are designed, the ball launches much further off the center of the club face. All right, so if we make contact with the outer third, automatically that ball is going to launch much softer. How do we commit to a long swing to get the ball to travel 3 to 5 yards? It's something very difficult to do. So this is automatically going to cause the golf ball to launch at a much lower velocity and allowing the golf ball to stay a little bit away from the hosel. Right? So those are really the two things that I think about. Right? And does anyone, we want to make a contact with the sand, an inch behind the golf ball, right? I think that's a very good drill, and I'm going to hop in and I'm going to draw a couple lines and do a demonstration, but I feel like that solely promotes hitting down on that spot. Right? Now our hands get in front, that club head is moving down. All I want to do is create consistency, keeping my body very quiet. Right? There's a video of Tiger. I think he's an all right player. We followed him for a little bit, right? I think it was 2019 when he won the Masters, and there was a video of him in the bunker, and he was setting up and he was taking his rehearsal and he was going. Have you seen that? Why is he doing that?
So he stays still?
Well, he's staying still, but he's wanting to get the feeling of the club head being able to release and get back to neutral at impact. There's the low point. There's the bottom of view. If I grip it really strong and I try to swing really hard, now that's much more difficult to get that club head to release and get back to neutral at impact. Our hands get in front of the golf ball. We try to accelerate through the golf ball. We just want to keep that club head in a consistent shape, controlling where the club reaches its lowest point. And that's in the relationship with the golf ball.
You open your club face like that. Do you also open your stance?
I prefer not to. I feel
How
like
do you prevent the ball from going far right?
Yeah, so the ball's going to go in the direction of the impact of the sand, right? Because the ball's never making direct contact with the club head out of our bunkers. If I open my stance, I feel like that promotes the club head going outside the ball and coming across the golf ball, which now makes that contact of the sand much more precise and possibly having some inconsistencies if the hosel of the club is coming across the golf ball. I want it to stay. I prefer swinging down the line, trying to keep it as simple as possible.
And you have the ball in the center of your stance?
I prefer it to have it right in my left hip pocket, because now if I have it on my left hip pocket, now I bring my chest in line. Now what's that doing? That's moving my weight forward. Right now I have a good foundation to where I don't feel like I'm swaying back and forth. This is helping me control the low point of the club head. Swaying up, I keep the body very, very still. This helps us feel planted, right? No matter what club. And I get asked a lot of questions too. How wide should my stance be? Every single person is going to be different. A good rule of thumb that I like to use is imagine yourself stepping off of like a bench or jumping off of a curb and your body catching itself. That's your own body's way of collecting its most balance, having the most stability. We're trying to only get the ball to travel 3 to 5 yards, right? So now we think about, I don't want to move that club all the way around my body. How do we commit to a long swing to get the ball to travel a short distance? Right? You see this drill right there, right? We only want to make contact, an inch behind the golf ball. Again, I think that this is a good drill, but I think this solely promotes on hitting down at that.
Oh.
Right? I hit an inch behind the golf ball, but now what happens if my contact's a little bit different? Now what happens if I solely on that spot? All right, now that chunks out lot of inconsistencies right there. So I do think that is a great drill, but I like to
going in the hole.
So there's the protection, right? Not even thinking about it. So to me, I'll draw a line all the way through my body. Because now if I look down at this golf ball, I can see this running through, right, my chest line, right? Now I feel very, very stable. Now I'll take about a dollar bill size box, draw it around the golf ball. Now I'm only thinking about taking the sand out of that box, right? The golf ball just gets in the way. So if I want to take a couple practice swings, I've got this line going all the way through, right? Now my chest is in line with the golf ball, and I'm just thinking about, all right, hands come high. All right, you see I'm not swinging very violently. I'm just taking the sand out of that box. Now when I step up to it, that's all that I'm thinking about. Keeping my body very quiet, taking the sand out of that box, right? I've got that open club face. Now it only travels 3 to 5 yards without necessarily thinking about trying to get this golf ball to land close to the hole. We just got to get it elevated with a soft landing. And this is a downhill, downwind bunker shot with a pretty high lip, right? And it's really good feedback for yourself as well. If I draw this box, right, and I take a bunker swing, right, good feedback. If I go, all right, see, there's feedback. That means my body's moving back. Club head is now reaching its lowest point much further away from the golf ball. If we're hitting too far in front, that means our body is in front. If we're taking too much sand, right, out here the club head moves through the sand very, very easily. I've seen golf balls travel a few feet and someone could swing like that, club head goes right underneath the golf ball. So we're taking too much sand. Now maybe I might just shorten the club a little bit, right? It's helping raise that lowest point of the swing to now be in a much closer relationship with the golf ball. So keeping my body very, very still. right? Not a whole lot of sway. You didn't see me rotate. You didn't see me go back and forth, right? It's just keeping all that in line, keeping it very, very quiet. Now I'm just taking the sand out of that out of that box, right? And I hit a little bit.
You're hitting way behind the ball.
I hit a little bit, yeah. much further behind the ball, but trying to keep that as close to consistent as possible, right? Golf ball just gets in the way. All right, so we're gonna break up into, so we've got 7, so let's go 3 in this bunker, 2 and 2. Want one person to hit maybe 3 to 5 bunker shots. The other 2 stand on face on. I want you to watch those 2 things. Watch the center of their chest, watch their finish, and then also give yourself some feedback on the impact of the sand. And I'm gonna hop back and forth to each bunker, maybe draw some lines, help with a few tips, but trying to keep everything as quiet and consistent as possible.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Body right over the ball. Now you open the club a little, huh, Fred?
Yep.
And you turn your body a little too. Which is a little
Great shot, Fred.
Yes.
So if I've got a ball that's on a downslope, right? This is a very, very difficult golf shot. To me, good rule of thumb: compensate your body to make it as close to a flat lie as possible, right? So if my ball is on a downslope, so I'll go front of the stance and I'll tilt my shoulders, right? Because if my shoulders are level and on a downslope, think about that U shape. Now the club head is making contact with the sand much earlier because the slope is higher up behind the golf ball. So to me, I'll put a little bit more in the front, but I want to tilt my shoulders because I want to make it as close to a flat lie as possible, helping control that lowest point of the club head to now match the slope. Now this is a very, very difficult bunker shot. But how do I'll try to go to this one, right? But I can still open up my club face, right? I'm still keeping my chest in line with the golf ball, but all I'm doing is tilting my shoulders. Now just same exact thing. It's trying to keep that as consistent as possible, right? All right, see the contact was exactly the same. All that I did was now change that bottom of the U, that low point. Same thing for an uphill, right? It's easier when our weight is falling backwards, but on a downhill, we've got to really commit to keeping those shoulders level, pushing that weight forward. Think about that U shape that I mentioned, right? Club comes up, club's gonna eventually come down, reach that lowest point. If my shoulders are flat and I'm on a downslope, that means the club head's gonna make contact with the sand much further behind the golf ball. We're mentally thinking about, we're trying to lift this golf ball up. So if I move my weight back, that's making the club head reach its lowest point much earlier behind the golf, which we don't want. So how do we make it as consistent as possible? So I will tilt my shoulders a little bit forward because I want to match that slope. It's going to help keep that low point of the club head much more consistent with the relationship of the golf ball. All right, so on an upslope, it's a little bit easier because our weight's falling backwards. On a downslope, now we really have to commit to keeping that weight
be in the same angle
as the slope, right? And that goes for all uneven lies, fairways, side hill lies, everything.
It's gonna want to go left.
All right. So there's good feedback, right? Our club head made contact with the sand much behind. That means we were moving back a little bit, right? So keep that weight on that left side. Feel yourself stay very grounded, very planted. There we go.
All right, well, let me just say, Kevin, that was awesome.
Thank you, I appreciate that.
Thank you very much. And
what did we learn out of these bunkers today?
that these guys suck.
Stay away from the bunker.
Stay away from the bunkers. That was, well, you didn't start with that.
Yeah.